Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 8:45 in the morning, Wednesday, April 27th. I am currently westbound on Interstate 24, trying to get this load of 4x4 lumber that I picked up in Georgia up to Indiana. I'm actually going up by the lake in Indiana, Lake Erie, I think. If I have time, I might have to check it out. I like going up there by the Great Lakes. I actually spent a little bit of time at a truck stop at Luna Pier. That's Luna Pier in Michigan. It was very nice. I would definitely, the truck stop wasn't nice, but Luna Pier was very nice. I've already told the wife and family that if I get another trip back to Luna Pier, I may go a day early just for the heck of it. And realistically, they may fly up and meet me. I don't know, because it is super nice up there. The truck stop, like I said, wasn't so nice. It was just a very small truck stop with a very small parking lot. But the little town area was very nice. It was mostly residential, but there was a bar and grill up there that I found. When I was there, it was the only thing open, and it was just a couple hundred yards walk from the truck stop. They had excellent food, excellent beer. It was around the holiday season, so I got to sample this brown beer called Blitzen. It was from a local brewery called Mommy, and it's Maumee, but it's pronounced Mommy. And man, it was delicious. And it was a very nice place. I will definitely go back again, but I would like to have maybe a day to hang out at the beach. The beach was just another couple hundred yards past not even that, maybe it was just 100 yards past the bar and grill that I ate at. So if you're up in that area, or you're ever making it, or getting close to that area, look it up, Luna Pier. It's probably about 65 miles or so south of Detroit. Kind of close to it's really close, just a couple miles inside the state line from Ohio. I think Cleveland is actually pretty close to Luna Pier as well. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend that bar and grill. I don't remember what it's called, but there's only 2 places that I saw that you could get something to eat, and it was definitely the nicer of the 2. But I'm sure the other place, which was closed at the time, is good as well, because it looked like a pretty good, friendly place. So anyway, so I'm driving through the mountains of Tennessee now. I literally just started my morning in Georgia, and in the past, I don't know, 35 miles, I started in Georgia, crossed over to Tennessee, went back to Georgia, and back into Tennessee. I'm just in that funky area where the state line does a little bit of zigzagging through the mountains. But anyway, so right now I got a load of 4x4 lumber that I'm taking up to Indiana, up by, like I said, up there by the lake. And I can tell you that when you're hauling flatbed, you really got to keep in mind the shape of your load, okay, the size and everything, because hauling this lumber is a lot different than hauling a load of brick that weighs the same thing. It really is, because it's higher. So I gotta kind of keep that in mind, because my truck is going to handle different around the curves and everything, because the bricks aren't going to be the load of brick will not be as high as this lumber. This lumber is probably, let's see here, I don't know, get on that rumble strip a little bit. 5, so 1, 2, 3, 20, 60, about 65 to 70 inches high off the bed of my truck, or off the bed of my trailer, I guess. And the brick will only be maybe 2 or 3 feet off the bed of my truck. And like I said, it just the geometry is different, which makes the physics different. You know, gotta be careful going around some of these curves and coming into them. I actually use my GPS a lot to get the shape of the road. My GPS is actually really super accurate on the shape of the road and showing me just how wide or how tight the curves are. About to come into a little bit of a view here, I think. So anyway, so today's case I want to talk about was a car chase that I had from a long time ago, back when I was a patrol officer. It was actually a pretty intense chase. It was very fast, very long, and the suspect, I'm not getting a speed warning. My GPS for some reason thought I was on an exit ramp, which has a speed warning of 45 miles an hour, or which has a speed limit of 45 miles an hour, but I'm not. I was still on the interstate. That's one thing about my GPS. I don't know why, and I've checked with other drivers, and their GPS does the same thing, but sometimes these truck GPSs will get confused and will put me on a different road just for a second, like an exit ramp or whatever. Crossing over a river. It's beautiful out here. Oh man, I would love to live out here. I am definitely one of these people. You could put me a house in the middle of about 60,000 acres and I would live there. I will get back into hunting and fishing and basically live off the land as much as I could. Man, it's gorgeous out here. And I should have done my homework a little bit. If I would have done my homework a little bit more, I might have stopped at this rest area last night instead of that crappy little truck stop. But it was kind of late, and I bet this rest area was pretty full. Just drove through it, and there's still a bunch of trucks there. But anyway, so this car chase. One thing about me is I keep my cool in stressful situations. I do not get flustered. Basically, I am very comfortable in stressful situations. There are some people that aren't, you know, and some cops that aren't. They get flustered, they get tunnel vision, some of their senses may even drop. I've heard of people being in stressful situations and not being able to process basically what's going on. I've seen people in car chases that would, they wouldn't see things that were obvious. Some of the training that we do in car chases is we actually go out to a road racing course in the town where I'm from, and we will do mock chases. Basically, we'll have one police car chasing another police car, and the pursuing police car has to call out all the things that they see: stop signs, car parked on the side of the road, construction barrels, red lights, intersections, all that. And you have to pass the emergency vehicles operators course. It's called, the acronym is EVOC, in order to be able to drive a police car. And that's part of the Emergency Vehicles Operators course. So that's our training, and there are some people that have a lot of trouble and they have to go through it multiple times before they can pass. Me, I'm one of these people. I just process everything that I see. There's not much that I don't miss. In fact, when I'm driving my truck, I will drive, even when I'm driving my car, I will basically drive as far ahead as I can see. Like right now, I look as far as I can see, and I'm looking for clues. If I see lots of vehicles bunched together, or brake lights, things like that, then I will know that traffic is slowing up here, and I will slow down a little bit before that, just to make sure that I can get stopped. So I always drive basically as far as I can see, which is why I really don't like driving at night, because I really can't see that far ahead at night, especially around corners. However, I guess it'd be the same thing, just look for brake lights and tail lights instead of during the night instead of during the day. So anyway, so I'm about to run radar on the central west part of town, and I hear some action going on the east part of town. Our city was divided up into two sides. We had east and west, and depending on which side of the city you're working on, that's the frequency that you had your radio on. So I was on the west side, and was about to run radar, and I heard some chatter going on the east side. I changed my radio over to listen in, and it's a car that's basically playing cat and mouse with police over on the east side of town. I decided that I was too far away to get involved, so but I continued to monitor just because I like to listen to that kind of stuff as well. So I am listening in, and patrol cars are having a hard time actually getting to this guy. And it was actually ended up being two people in the car. What I didn't know is why they were chasing them. I'll go ahead and tell you the reason now that they were trying to get them was there was a couple citizens that was driving behind them. They saw the two occupants of this vehicle put on masks and grabbed their AK-47 or SKSs, whichever it was. I forget which rifle it was, but it was either AK-47 or SKS. Grabbed them from the back seat and put them on their laps. So they called the police, and that's basically how all this started. Well, I think they were going to go do a drive-by. The one person that we did get in custody, he was either an active gang member or had strong affiliation with gang members. I want to say maybe it was strong affiliation. But in any case, given the totality of the circumstances, I believe they're going to do a drive-by shooting. They were in a neighborhood, and they masked up, and they were getting their guns ready, because there's no reason to drive around with a mask and guns unless you're about to do something wrong. Anyway, so the helicopter's involved. At that time, we had a helicopter. We ended up getting rid of the helicopter, which I think was an astronomical, just a horrible idea. The city just totally screwed that up, I think, in my opinion. It was a very valuable asset and definitely worth the budget every year. It was crazy. I don't know, they just got rid of it. Anyway, so the helicopter picks this car up, and they're trying to get patrol units there so they can get this person stopped. During that time, the car stops and the passenger gets out and takes off. I don't remember if the helicopter saw that he took off with his gun or not, but basically the helicopter has to make a decision, and they have to decide they want to pursue the car. They want to keep the car in mind and let the person go that ran. So uh, the driver of the car ends up basically running from the helicopter. Basically, he knows the helicopter is up there, keeping track of him, and he starts driving all crazy and fast to get away. And he obviously knew that patrol was trying to get to him as well, because he was, definitely avoiding them as well. So anyway, so the helicopter went ahead and called in the pursuit. And back when we had our helicopter, if there was a pursuit and the helicopter got involved, the pursuing officer is supposed to shut down their lights and sirens and follow at a safe distance. The reasoning was that if the suspect sees that the officers are no longer pursuing, that they will either slow down and blend in with traffic, or they will go home, or they will pull into a parking lot or onto the side of the street or something, while the helicopter keeps track of them. And then the helicopter can direct officers in to take them in custody. Well, that's the theory behind it, but this guy knew the helicopter was after him and just continued to run. So the helicopter was actually the initiating pursuing vehicle, which is kind of funny because that's the first time I'd ever heard of anything like that, where the helicopter actually calls in the pursuit. So anyway, so the car starts going northbound on a one-way street close to downtown, in fact through downtown, and I knew that there was only there were two things that was one of two things was probably going to happen. He was either going to get on the highway and come west towards me, or he was going to go over the river and go into the north part of town. There were some other things that he could have done as well there, but that would be the two main things that I would think of. So at that point, I put my radar gun away and I start driving north towards the interstate. And sure enough, he gets on the interstate and is coming my way. I get to the interstate and I am trying to get my stop sticks out because I'm going to throw them in front of his car, since it's an active pursuit, and take out his tires. Our stop sticks were 3 triangular shaped tubes inside a nylon sleeve, and basically you throw the whole thing out in front of the car. They will run over it, causing the cardboard to collapse, and spikes will penetrate their tires, and the ends of the spikes will fall off, leaving a 1-inch metal straw inside the tire that will do a controlled release of the air, controlled flattening of the tire. Basically, it doesn't cause an instantaneous blowout where somebody may crash. It does a controlled release of the air, causing the tires to go flat. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my stop sticks out in time because this guy was hauling ass. He drove past me doing about 100. And then he takes the exit ramp to get on another highway going north. I throw my stop sticks back in my trunk, and I get in my car, and I'm following at a safe distance without my lights and sirens. Back then, I could drive fast without without my lights and sirens if the circumstances, for the certain circumstances, and that I would have been okay. So I am driving fast, just enough to keep him in sight, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my car back then. My car back then was a beast. It was old, but it was super fast. It was just a Crown Victoria model Ford, which they badged as a police interceptor. The police interceptor Basically, I was told by a mechanic once that they're geared lower for quicker acceleration. They have better brakes and better suspension. That's basically it. They're not a Hemi-driven Dodge Charger or anything like that. But mine was fast. Our cars back then had governors on them to limit their speed at 120 miles per hour. But my car was old enough that it didn't get a governor because what was normally done was they just cycle the older cars out for newer cars when they reach a certain age. Well, my car basically was forgotten about because it was a really good car. So I'm following at a safe distance without my lights and sirens because I don't want this guy to see that I'm behind him. But he's not slowing down. The helicopter is giving updates and says that he just got off on this road, onto this road that leads into the county. And about the time my corporal, who is my direct supervisor, gets on his radio and says that he's about to come up on him. I then get on my radio after hearing my sergeant's or my corporal's siren in the background, so I could tell he's running lights and sirens. I then get on my radio and I tell my corporal that I actually have a visual on the suspect, and I ask if he wants me to engage, basically be an active participant in the pursuit. He gives me his blessing, and I activate my lights and sirens, and I start closing in that gap between us with my beast of a car. The speedometer read 140 miles an hour, and I would do every bit of 140 and then some. At that point, I still didn't know why we were chasing this guy. I just knew that he was being chased. So radio chatter started about him having a rifle, and so then I decide I'm going to charge my rifle. I was carrying a Bushmaster 223 for my patrol rifle, and for those of you that don't know, charging it basically means I'm going to rack around from the magazine into the chamber. We did not carry those in battery, meaning loaded in the chamber, because they are not meant to be an instant weapon. There is actually policy on that. Whether you agree with it or not, that's neither here nor there. But basically, we carried our handguns in battery, meaning loaded and ready to go, because that's a gun that we need to access instantly. So I'm driving 140 miles an hour trying to charge my rifle, and then I come to the decision, I don't even remember if I charged it, I think I did, but then I come to the decision that I'm going to that if this guy decides to stop and start shooting at me with his rifle, that I'm not even going to stop. I have a weapon of necessity right there in possession, which would be my car. I had made the decision that if he were to stop and start shooting at me, that I was just going to basically neutralize the threat with my car, because I would actually start taking rounds before I could get my car stopped. Pretty much guaranteed. So I was just going to try and minimize my danger and maximize my ability to neutralize the threat. Thankfully, that didn't happen, so I didn't have to do it. This guy keeps running, and the helicopter is up, is chasing as well, and giving me updates about traffic and things like that. And traffic was basically non-existent. We're in a part of the county that it just, there's no neighborhoods. There's not going to be any kids playing basketball in the street. There's not going to be any kids skateboarding in the street or the road. It's just, there's just nothing there to have to really worry about. But they're giving me traffic updates anyway about intersections being clear and driveways being clear, things like that. So we end up driving way north of the city, and we are going down roads that are low or no maintenance. Basically, these roads are used by farmers to get from field to field, and they are not maintained. They have no gravel. They are not graded. They have ruts. They're muddy. I mean, it's just bad roads. Really, cars aren't meant to drive down them anyway. And I'm trying to actually pursue a car through there. So they definitely weren't meant for me to be driving, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour through there. But, I don't remember how fast I was going, but it definitely wasn't meant for me to be driving that fast. But it was a pursuit, so you just got to kind of weigh the totality of the circumstances. You can't, I wasn't just going to stop. So anyway, this guy was Native American, and he was trying to make it to the reservation just north of town. He actually ended up making it to his aunt's property. She had some acreage, and he abandoned his car on her acreage and ended up running into the woods with the rifle. He actually told me later that he didn't think that we could pursue him into the reservation, and I informed him that this was not a game of tag, and he was not free if he made it to home base. He was not safe on base. So anyway, this guy ended up burying his rifle in the mud and came out and gave up. He surrendered. He was taken into custody, and the helicopter, who kept an eye on him and was using their infrared, was able to keep an eye on him and could tell direct officers where he'd buried his gun. So the officers got the gun, and he was put in my patrol car, and he actually asked me if we could leave before the media showed up, because it was a circus at that point. I mean, we had my agency, our county's agency, the neighboring county agency, the highway patrol, and the reservation police all were involved at this point. Basically, all these entities at one point, or all these agencies at one point, or at different points, I guess, joined my chase. I had a sheriff waiting for me at the county line. That sheriff joined the chase. I had the neighboring county's sheriff at their county line. They joined the chase when we crossed their county line. I had the Indian Reservation police at the edge of the reservation. They joined the chase when we crossed in the reservation, and the highway patrol joined in somewhere around there. And kind of a funny deal, at some point, a volunteer firefighter saw this chase go by his house, and he actually starts calling his people and says, "Hey, there's a high-speed chase. There are lots of cars involved, and this might end bad." So they were basically tailing the chase just in case they need to offer emergency services, which I thought was pretty cool. So even the volunteer firefighters got involved. They definitely weren't active in the chase or in the pursuit, but they were definitely there to help if needed. So anyway, this guy ended up pleading guilty in federal court and was sentenced to 7 years. Basically, when I was transporting him back to the police station, he had what I call diarrhea at the mouth. He just wanted to talk about the chase and basically try to justify his reason for running. He told me things like, that he had to run because he's a felon and he had a gun. He knew he was going to prison. I mean, just constantly saying things like that the whole way there, and was trying to make sure that I wasn't angry with him that he that he ran. So me knowing where the line is, I didn't talk to him about that kind of stuff. I didn't ask him any questions about that stuff. And the only comments that I made to him were comments about him almost running me out of gas. In fact, the chase lasted so long, the helicopter had to land in a nearby field and have fuel delivered to them so they could make it back to the airport. But anyway, so we get back to the police station, and this guy, where a detective wants to interview him, but this guy, he ends up invoking his Miranda right to remain silent when the detective read him his Miranda warning. I thought that was kind of comical because he literally just told me everything that we need, more than everything that we need for a conviction. So at trial, I testify, and I'm reading a little bit from my report, and the defense attorney, and I wasn't new, but I had probably about 5 or 6 years on at that point. But it was my first time testifying in federal court, which is a lot different than testifying in state and city court. It's just way different. If you have any police friends, ask them if they've ever testified in federal court. They may have an opinion that there's no difference, but to me, there is a difference. I've only testified in federal court about 5 or 6 times in my entire career, but I've testified in state and city court more times than I can ever even. I don't even want to try and put a number on it because I'll be wrong. It's just I've testified that many times. But anyway, the defense objected because I was reading from my report. At that point, I turned my report over and testified completely from memory. And at the end of that court hearing, the defense attorney suggested to his client that he take the deal that was being offered by the prosecution, which was 7 years instead of 10 years. I was also told later that the judge was impressed with my testimony, which was kind of a straw I put in my hat. I think to get a compliment from a federal judge, I think to get a compliment from any judge is actually pretty noble, and I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, this guy ended up doing 7 years in prison. But fast forward quite a few years, and he actually shot somebody not too long ago. It was not too long before I retired. I don't know if he killed this guy. I don't know if the shooting was in self-defense or what. I just know that at one point detectives were looking for him for this shooting. So anyway, that's my story about my car chase today. As you can tell, we just spent the last few minutes climbing a mountain, and we had a top speed of about 45 miles an hour. A lot of trucks are actually slower than that going up some of these mountains. My truck is pretty strong, and we'll truck right along up these mountains. We'll see what the top looks like. I'm not going to sign off yet. I want to see what the top looks like and see if I can give you guys a ride down the mountain as well. I actually had somebody comment one time that I'd posted on in my Facebook that that it takes a long time to earn $1 going up a mountain, dragging 40,000 pounds of cargo, and then he made the comment that that we can make it up on the way down. He is not a truck driver and does not know. So yes, we're about to go down a very steep grade. and it's got signs on each side that says truck speed reduced ahead. So as you can see, my truck speed is 45 miles an hour. The normal speed is 35. I have a 5% downgrade for the next 3 miles. Not so bad, but I have my engine brake on, and I'm gonna go ahead and slow her down because I'm doing about 52, and I'm gonna slow her down to 45. As you can see here, I have my engine brake working. So we're going to go down this mountain using my engine brake and my accelerator. And I'm going to keep her right around 45 miles an hour. It's a little windy and it's a little steep. The truck I actually trained in for my previous company, ooh, this is really windy coming up. It's basically a hairpin turn. But the guy that trained me before, he had a truck that you could actually set the cruise control on and tell your cruise control that you don't want to go any more than 5 miles an hour over. So the engine brake would, so as long as your engine brake was on, it wouldn't let you go any more than, let's say, 50 miles an hour if the speed limit was 45 going down the mountain. So right now I have my foot completely off the accelerator, completely off of my brake, and I have 4 settings on my engine brake. I have a low, medium, and high, and then I have max. And I will just go between those settings as I'm going down this mountain. You know, I'll get up to about 47, 48 miles per hour. And I'll have it on max. Looks like I'm about to climb a little bit of a hill, so I'll use my accelerator. Keeping it between 45 and 50 miles an hour. And as you can see, that was a very, very sharp curve there. That's giving my speed warning. I do have my GPS set to yell at me when I'm driving 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. My opinion, even as a cop, if somebody pulls you over and writes you a ticket for driving 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, they're a hard ass. You know, granted, yes, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit is speeding, but there needs to be some sort of buffer. You know, I've heard of officers giving tickets for people going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, and that's just dumb. But anyway, so I used my brake there just a little bit. Just to get myself slowed down a little bit. Every once in a while, I'll stab my brake just real quick, just to keep myself down between 45 and 50 miles per hour. But for the most part, I will stay off my brake. Because you don't want to get your brakes hot. And I actually have a wide load. You're going to see this oversized load come flying by me here in a minute. He is definitely driving a lot faster than 45 miles per hour. He'll probably get a little angry with me because I'm driving a little bit more than 45. Man, my ears pop going down these mountains from the altitude, going down from the higher altitude to the lower altitude. This mountain doesn't have any runaway truck ramps advertised either. But realistically, other than that hairpin turn, yeah, I could definitely do this. I could definitely do this mountain at 55, 60 miles an hour easily. Even with this little bit of a high profile load, because I'm not as high profile as the normal dry van semis with pulling the big boxes. But I definitely got to keep in mind going around some of these curves. But yeah, I definitely could have taken that 55, 60 miles per hour pretty easily. Speed limit's about to open up to 70 miles an hour again, so I can pick up the speed. At this point, I guess I will sign off. If you like my video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share my video, talk about it, whatever. I'm kind of new to this YouTube thing, and but I think I'm getting a little bit better. And I will see you next time.